Welcome to the podcast, Beyond Expectations, Parenting Autism. Follow Michelle Chabola's journey of raising a child with autism, the challenges, victories, and rewards. If you're a parent, caregiver, or simply someone seeking to understand autism on a personal level, you're in the right place.
Okay, here we are. Episode 3. Beyond Expectations. I really kind of wanted to recap a little bit. I think I got ahead of myself on a couple of definitely the first 2 episodes. I want to talk about where Gregory's at right now. He's 31 years old. He works at home at his own business as a scroll saw artist. He's amazing. He's very good. Gregory'sGifts.com for all of you that are curious. And I also want to reiterate, this is just my own life experiences. I have no formal training. Nothing. This is just 31 years of living with Gregory, and I want to share my experiences. And that's where I'm at.
What we call on-the-job training.
Definitely big time. So we've talked about the diagnosis. We've talked about all of the different therapies that I tried and some that I still do with Gregory. And now I want to talk about that time after you get the diagnosis. It can be sometimes a wait before you can actually get an official diagnosis and start getting services. And so that did happen to me. I was on a wait list even back then. I was on probably 90 days. And when you're talking about a 3-year-old, 90 days is a long time. They can learn a lot in 90 days. So the very first thing I did was, I always wanted to be a school teacher. So here I was. Here was my moment. I had a basement in Colorado, so I turned it into a classroom. And there are pictures somewhere of this classroom, but they're hard pictures. They're not digital.
Yeah, exactly. Not on a phone somewhere.
I would really have to dig for them, but I'm sure I could find them. But we literally just went to teacher supply and just started from scratch. We even got the little table with the little chairs. And I think I just wanted to make it where when he did enter the real world, right? When he did go to school or preschool or kindergarten, that it wouldn't be a foreign place for him, right?
Oh, interesting.
He'd walk in and he'd see where he to hang his coat. And I mean, I had it completely exactly like the letters on the wall, everything just looked like a little classroom. And I think the most important thing for him, and I think it is with a lot of autistic kids, is organization. And I have a little bit of OCD myself. So that worked out great, right? Containers with labels, everything was labeled.
Interesting. Remind me, how old was Gregory when you built the classroom?
This was 3. He was 3.
He was 3
years old.
At what age? What age does kindergarten start these days?
Kindergarten is 5.
5. Okay.
5. So preschool and all that is before. And he loved it. He loved it. Michael loved it. We played school every single day. But the main thing with it was with no words or no, being nonverbal, I wanted him to recognize and try to say the things in the house. So if there was a table, it said table. If there was a chair, it said chair. All through the house. TV had TV on it. And although he wasn't saying any of them for a very long time, he never read phonetically. He read by memory. So I think that helped a lot. Right. Because, I mean, think of our language. It's awful, right?
Yeah. Well, it's so our English
as an F. He's never read phonetically his whole life, ever.
Interesting. At any point, did he sort of take a label to communicate with? Like if I want to watch.
We did. We used picture cards a lot. Yes.
Oh, interesting.
Yes. And that went right along with it, right? Like if we told him to go get a chair, then he would match up the word or the picture to the chair. But yes, definitely. And they do that with all kids, right? The picture cards. Yes, definitely.
Interesting.
So that was a great thing to do. And you can do that at home and it's free, and just start having fun and playing school every single day, because every day.
Do you remember how long a session was? Was it 30 minutes? Was it an hour?
Gregory had a long attention span. They're all different too, right? He literally watched full-length movies as an infant.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, Winnie the Pooh. That was his
So,
favorite.
so attention span wasn't an issue. Focus wasn't an issue.
Right. If he can tune into something, he really did very well staying on task. But I just think the organization is just a huge thing that when we talked about last episode of the environment and how crazy your environment can be, the more organized it is, because life is chaotic, right? You got kids and dogs and doorbell ringing and people coming and going every day, all day. And the more you can keep that organized, the more that child feels not so chaotic. And with Gregory, a lot of his meltdowns came with chaos, not knowing the next move and not knowing what's going on. I think that's what really triggered a lot of his meltdowns. And so I think to avoid that, stay organized, stay totally organized. And that way also when they do start school, it's not this foreign environment. Remember, that's the main thing too, is new environments, new routines. Routine is such a part of his everyday life. Just a few minutes ago, I called him in the shop and I said, I'm going to get on the podcast with Uncle Sean. Do you want to stop at 4? He usually stops at 4:30. Mm-hmm. Yes, but let me finish what I'm doing first. And he'll stay till 4:30.
He likes his schedule. And he was that way. Was he that way at 3 and 4 years old? He really reacted positively to a very set, this is what time breakfast is. This is what time lunch is. This is what time we take a bath. What time we go to bed. This is what time we go to school.
Everything.
How did you go to do that? Or did it just sort of like, you found that was what was calming?
I think I found that what was calming. I mean, I think it's working parents. You're on a routine, right? I mean, that's the best way to shuffle your house, right? Because your house is just total chaos. So we were always on a schedule. It was a different type of schedule, but I just, with him, I think the unknown is causes a lot of anxiety. And I'm really, really good now. I'm better to give him a heads up. You saw that when you traveled with him. Yeah. You're the worst about things at the last minute. And I'm like, oh my God.
Well, that's why I don't like to make plans, because I don't want to change them, but I know they're going to change, right?
But if I can say, and I even told him, it was so funny. I said, now we're traveling with Uncle Sean for a week. And he does make a lot of changes. He goes, okay, I'll be ready. And he did good, but we did make a lot of changes, didn't we?
Yep.
How about coming home?
Yeah,
I mean, exactly. Lots of our flights and stuff. And so that, I just said, just hang on. Just hang on. Sean's going to change something. Trust me. But, and that's just with everything. I mean, play dates. And I mean, the whole world doesn't have to be organized, but just give them a heads up. Give them a heads up.
Well, like on Saturday, would it be like, okay, we're going to sleep late and whatever happens today will happen? Or was every day like planned Saturday, Sunday, every day?
It used to be all weekends and everything, but now he's really funny because he does sleep late on Saturdays. And I think he has a certain time, it's like 9:45 or whatever it is. And he's awake. But I think he'll always be a routine kind of guy. And a schedule. Certain programs come on at certain times, and he's got to be, ready for that program.
Do you remember in Rain Man? Do you remember that Wheel of Fortune was super important to him, and whatever they were doing that day, they had to be set down before Wheel of Fortune started? Is that like
that's what his favorite game show is?
Interesting.
You know what I love about Wheel of Fortune for him, and I think it'd be great if I would have caught on to it earlier. It teaches you how to spell. It teaches you subjects. It really does teach you a lot of things.
Yeah.
He loves it. He loves guessing it. Makes Michael crazy when he visits. He's like, we got to watch Wheel of Fortune.
That's interesting.
That's what only if you're going to be in this house. Exactly. So yes, I think routine is very, very, very important. And then, always keep in mind, and we still experience this, we have progress every day, right? He'll do something new, or he'll learn something, or I'll learn something about him. And then there'll be, several weeks go by and I'll think, my goodness, how come we haven't really gone anywhere? We haven't
But
gone
how,
forward.
when he was 3 or 4 or 5, did you have like, okay, the next milestone is speaking, or the next milestone is doing this by themselves, or were you that organized to have like almost like a syllabus of this is the goals for life skills for whatever?
We had goals at the school. I didn't have goals at home. I don't think so. I did. I just breathed every day. We definitely had things we worked on every day. Every single day we had something we worked on, whether it was writing or reading, or we had those type of things, and we wanted progress every day, and not every day you had progress. But obviously at school, every IEP meeting, there's goals, and they try to meet those goals.
What does
So I
IEP
think
stand for?
that's the individual education plan, where they get the services.
Okay.
And they'll have certain goals. They want him doing his numbers by here. They want him, be able to read a chapter book by this age. And you got all of that. But I think every day at home, the best thing is to just make it a game. Everything's a game. And play games. Dominoes for counting. Who'd have thought, right?
Right.
The greatest tool in the world to learn math. Greatest tool. And the whole family can play.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
He loves that. So lots of games, lots of playing, lots of organization at home, and keeping that
So
routine.
Gregory does these super complicated puzzles. When did that start? Well, maybe talk about that first, and then talk about when it started.
Yes, he does. He does 1,000-piece puzzles in about 3 days. And that's only in the afternoon. That's not 24 hours a day. That's after he works. That's the way he relaxes, as he does a puzzle.
And
He doesn't look at the picture, and he doesn't build the frame.
so he just 1,000 puzzle pieces. He doesn't
He
know.
grabs a handful. So he doesn't even have to have a big space. He grabs a handful of pieces and puts them on the table and works it that way, and never looks at the picture. It's the most mind-boggling thing you've ever seen.
So when did he start favoring puzzles?
Well, he's always loved puzzles. Right. Oh gosh, probably high school. They had a program, a circle of friends, where they worked together, and he started showing an interest of puzzles. Yeah. And it just took off. We have thousands of puzzles glued and hung up in his shop everywhere. They're everywhere. I use them for art. They're everywhere because he wants to keep them together. He doesn't want to put it back in the box.
Right.
So once it's done, which that is a hard thing to do. Once you work on a puzzle, to put it.
Well, and to not be like, I was always taught you started with the corners and then you.
Right. I always looked at the picture to figure out what I was doing.
Yeah.
And that doesn't bother him. And then if you sit down to work it with him, he just either leaves or just watches you.
Oh, he doesn't want to do it. It's a team sport.
And then, no, it's not. And then when you don't find a piece forever, he'll go, "Are you finished?"
That's awesome.
Right. I guess. Okay. Thank you. You can go now.
You can move along now.
Ask Kim and Valerie wanting to work with him every time, and it never works.
That's interesting.
But so it's not a team sport. It's a solo. But yeah. And that's go ahead.
Is alone time something important for Gregory?
Oh yes. Yes.
So is that part of the daily routine even as an adult? Like,
yep. Get away. Wind down.
So after work, he's got a couple hours.
After work, he either throws the ball for the dog for really long periods of time out on the property, or and then he goes home and to his own house now.
Right.
And chills out, and he'll call me and say, "Are we having dinner at your house or my house?"
Oh, very nice. That's so fun. Yeah. Own house.
And then what time? And then I have a show coming on at X amount of time. And so
that's the cuter.
Routine.
Still in that schedule.
He's really gotten better. This has only happened since he's moved out. That he doesn't put me on such a time restriction with dinner and everything. It's okay. I can watch it, later or whatever. He will
Right.
do that to have dinner with me.
Is he okay to record a show and come back and watch it off schedule, or is it really that we got to be strict?
Yes, he will. We don't have DVR anymore, but thank goodness everything's on again, right? Or you can go back to it. So that works. That works good. But yeah, he's very excited. Tonight, it's November 19th and 2025, and there's an award show, big into award shows. Really big. Like the music awards, the Emmys, the Oscars, the Tonys, all of that. He loves award shows. Yeah, he does, which is fascinating. But anyway, so the next thing I wanted to touch on was how important your support system is. And this is all going on early, because if you're waiting to get in for a diagnosis, you can tackle your house, right? And go ahead and start organizing the toys and playing organized games with them and teaching them words and things and objects. And then when you do get that diagnosis, I believe more than anything, I think your families and friends are the biggest important thing going. I mean, I think you need that support. I didn't have Facebook. I didn't have Instagram. I had a mother walk up to me. It was so funny at one of the shows. And she goes, I've just got to say something. I follow you on Instagram and Facebook, and I think it's amazing what Gregory's doing. And you didn't even have Facebook to help you out.
Not even back then.
I said, she goes, I just don't know what I would do without my support group on Facebook. And I thought,
nice.
There was no Facebook.
Yeah.
So, but I think it's very, very important. It might have been easier, right? Find a group of friends and figure out,
a group of just your friends, just because when you're tired and frustrated, you got someone to talk to, or did they take an active role in development and training and that kind of thing?
I think just that support, like just being there, period. And then understanding, right? Because it was new to all of my friends.
Yeah.
They'd never been around the autistic child. So them learning Gregory, and then me seeing that chemistry between their kids and Gregory, right? And their cousins when they were around him. And just everybody learning everybody is just such an important thing. But I just think that my family totally understood why I quit my job, why I up and moved to Colorado, because that's just what needed to be done.
Yeah.
That's really hard.
It's an interesting topic, because that's just not going to be possible for so many moms these days.
Right.
Because life is so expensive and everything.
Very, very, very big decision to make. And maybe at this point in time, if he was diagnosed now, I would not have done that. Maybe I would have had more resources. I would have had more options. I don't know. I just know at that time that was what I needed to do, and so that's what I did.
Interesting. Yeah, that's something we should probably spend some time getting up to speed on for now, because and think about what if you weren't able to dedicate this much time person to person with them, like, what would you do, or what is available?
Right. And now I believe there's therapies that come to the home. I did have a sitter, in the very beginning. I had a lady that came every day.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think it was just the reaching out and trying to find the services that we didn't have in our area. And maybe at that time there were services in other states that I didn't know about. I'm not real sure. I just know in my area where I lived, there was not. There were not those services. And so I had to step up and figure it out. And just
right.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, no, it's a huge thing. It's a big change of life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was huge. It was hard leaving my family. I left you and mom and dad, and Sharon was driving distance. I mean, I literally packed up, sold the house in one day, and they wanted to rent it. while it was closing. And so I was like, oh, like an idiot. Sure, no problem. And I was like, wait a minute, where are we going to go?
What
So
was that change like for Gregory? I mean, that's a lot of change for someone that we just talked about who thrives, on routine.
yes, it was a lot for him. Actually, my 2-year-old took it harder than my 3.5-year-old did.
Yeah.
So that goes to tell you we all deal with change different, right?
Right.
Michael was just beside himself about all his toys going on the moving truck. Gregory, I think as long as Gregory had me, I was that lifeline.
Yeah.
Wherever mom was, it was okay. It was all right. And I think at that point, at 3.5, I think it was early enough to move that everything was new, right? Because school was going to be new. Everything was going to be new. And I definitely, and still to this day, is his lifeline. I mean, if mom does it, if mom says it's okay to go there, then it's okay to go there.
Right.
Obviously I tell him in advance, but yes. But at that point, he was a baby. He wasn't talking.
Yeah.
Like I said,
Remind me what we were talked about in the first episode that he said his first word after he had his first
craniosacral therapy. Yes.
Craniosacral therapy. Yeah. And how old was he then?
He was 5.5 when he said his first words. And then he was 7.5 before he really started putting sentences together, what they say speaking, which means responding to you, right?
So from a parent's perspective, how many hours a day went into that? This is, I guess what I'm taking from this and kind of reliving it with you, hearing it from your perspective, is that, I mean, this is a career, right? This is 5 years of daily work.
Right.
Right. So 2-3 years, 2+ years into it before we found speech, before you spent speech. And that's 2 years of routine and school and training and the difficult things. So we've kind of, as we've talked about this, we've tended to stay pretty positive. But what about the difficult days? What about the days? What were days that just went sideways, and how did you deal with it?
A lot of days went sideways. I think with Gregory, the very first hardest struggle was the bathroom issue. And I think because he got so sick. And yes. I know you remember that.
Withholding, basically.
It's withholding.
And you got sick from it because I guess it's toxic to your system.
It's just toxic. It's just toxic to you. And the doctors had no idea what to do. Put him on a laxative for the rest of his life. I mean, there was just crazy, crazy things they wanted me to do.
Right.
And that was our biggest hurdle. And I think going to Fresno and getting that craniosacral therapy and that sensory integration dysfunction we talked about, which is called the Wilbarger method, changed my life.
So I remember us talking about the head massage. I can't say sacropranial. Oh, the other thing is the brush.
The brushing and the deep compression is what changed his life. That's what really got him on the right road for the potty training and everything. That was
this wasn't just potty training. Like potty training is learning to hold it long enough to go find it.
Right. No, this
is like it's okay to go to the bathroom.
Yeah. I don't know if you remember you remember Mexico.
Oh yeah.
Him getting so sick. So I really believe that was probably my biggest struggle period with him. And then after that, we got through that. It just seemed things just started happening. And my main thing was just to keep him in an environment where he didn't have a meltdown, which is really, really hard.
Right.
It happens, right? It happens. It's going to happen.
As we talked about, right? The idea is if you can have a schedule and have a controlled environment and limit, surprises and limit sounds and lights, all the things you would do to sort of calm a nervous system are the good things. But those same things almost prohibit a lot of the development that you're after.
Right.
So you have this rub of a person needs to go outside and they need to have surprises. They need to, and there's going to work. If they're going to go to a restaurant and see what's going on, there's going to be loud noises and crying babies.
Right.
So remind me, what was how do you thread that needle? How do you walk the line of we're going to go, but a lot of that's going to be anxiety creating.
Okay, to this day, I don't wait for a table at a restaurant.
Is that right?
No, it was not a choice with him. And today it's still, I mean, you see it. I'm like, how long's the wait? If it's longer than 10 minutes, we're out of here.
It's not going to work.
It's not going to work. It's not in a very closed environment. If we're out and about and the restaurant's outside and we can all be hanging outside and he can do his stretching, we call it, where he walks around. Sure, you're going to put him into a confined environment and sit at a bar and wait for a table. Right. That's not gonna work for him.
Too many inputs, too much anxiety creation.
Too much going on. Right.
Right.
Too much going on. So I think as a parent, I learned all that early on. And we just did not do that. We just didn't put him in those situations. Now, was that right or wrong? I don't know. I mean, like we were talking about before, it's like you remove him from all these environments to protect him, and then how does it process it when it happens?
You need these experiences, interactions to develop, but a lot of them are anxiety creating.
He's better. You saw we had to wait for tables on our trip. And what did he say?
I would say, 30 years old. Yeah. I would say today that you like the accommodations that you make for Gregory today are very minor, very, very minor. Mm-hmm. I would say that my lack of patience and me being spoiled is probably a bigger issue than him. So,
I know it is.
But 10 years exactly. But at 10 years old or 12 years old, right?
Right.
It's that. So I guess you always just had to have a very specific plan, and I guess an escape plan.
Always an escape plan. Where can we go to get out and get move? And we would tag team with him when he was younger, right?
This is just acceptance that this is the person's characteristics, this is their personality, this is their nervous system, and it's not their fault. Because you could also see people getting super upset. It's like, what do you mean the kid can't wait for a table? Like, and was that a problem for you and the family at some point? It's like, well, at some point we're gonna have to like tough love it and
We've told no. We've told many people no that we can't do different things. I mean, that's another thing when it comes to acceptance. My siblings.
That's what I'm trying to get to. Is I could see a couple. I'm just making this up, but I could see a couple where one of them says like, "What are you doing?" Make them uncomfortable. That's how you get. That's how you learn. So with an autism diagnosis, is there a big risk that kind of tough love thing of like let's overcome this by confrontation of it? Is it just a no-go, or does any of that work?
It might work for another child that maybe the sensory, I mean, they're all different, right? You're going to have all these different levels of sensory.
Did you ever try it where it's just like, we're just going to force the issue and see
how long you last?
Or just like with another kid that doesn't eat their broccoli or doesn't want to do their homework or something, eventually you got to bring down the hammer. It's like, we're going to, you got to. But with an autistic child, is that just forget about it?
It's not off the table. It's just, I didn't do it as much when he was young. I do it more now. I mean, I challenge him more now as far as what he should be doing or what he shouldn't be doing. Right. But I can talk to him and reason with him a little bit more. Well, a lot more now. I think a nonverbal child, to force them to sit in a restaurant for any period of time with all that going on, maybe that's what the headphones and the iPads are for now.
I'm sorry. That strikes me as a super important message. Is this what you call a while ago is acceptance and tolerance, and then maybe resetting of the expectations so that everybody knows, okay, we're gonna give this person way more leeway, and we're gonna like help by like controlling the environment and allowing escape plans.
Right.
And by basically changing expectations. But that might be hard for some families to agree on.
It definitely is a lot. I mean, not everybody's going to agree on it. Thank goodness my husband and I were on the same page 100% on that. And that's what I said. We would tag team. We didn't always say no, but if we were at a restaurant for an event, say, just for example, you go to a birthday party, right? And there's 20 people or a wedding, whatever, and you got all this going on. You're going to let him be himself because you're in an environment with all your friends and family, right? But in a restaurant, if he ends up getting overstimulated and starting to have a meltdown, you have to know your child, and you have to remove him from that environment. And you might be able to bring him back, right? Just go outside, get it out, and
Right.
then maybe bring him back in and say, it's going to be a little bit longer. But I will tell you, our life was completely changed because of it. I mean, there are things
Right.
that we could do and things that we couldn't. I mean, Jane and Dave, my best friend, and her husband and kids would come over, and we spent a lot of time at my house because it was more comfortable. And they were so amazing about it. They totally got it. I mean, we
Yeah.
would go to their house, but it was a different visit, right? It was just different. It wasn't as long and it wasn't as comfortable for us because we're watching him and, making sure everything's good. So 90% of the time they came to our house. And then when it was time to go, he would take Jane's hand and take her to the door.
Oh, he would decide when it was time to go.
And Jane say, I guess we're leaving. I said, I think you are. See?
But it takes those friends, and everyone has to be so understanding.
Oh my gosh. It never offended them. But they literally, and all my friends, Christy, all of them would come to my house. They just knew that was the safer, more comfortable place for Gregory to be.
Right.
It's like everybody come to my house. And so we had a lot of parties at my house, which was great because he still got that interaction with friends and family and everything, but he was in his comfort zone, I guess.
Right. But I think that's a big thing, is that everyone has to kind of get on board to say, like, we're all going to make these accommodations and change our expectations because this person is in a situation that they can't control.
Right. And not, it's not an outcast. It's just, they're just different.
Just different.
But, yep.
That's fantastic.
Anyway, I think we blew through that 30 minutes and I didn't even get to
There's so much to learn. It goes so fast.
There is so much to learn. So much to learn. But until next time.
All right. Until next
We'll
time.
keep going. All right.
Thank you. Bye.